few ghost encounters when I was younger, and FYI, they are not fun or exciting or cool. I thought they were terrifying, so today we are going to talk about the top 10 scariest celebrity ghost encounters. And if you are just as excited for Halloween as I am, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Starting off this countdown at number 10, Mike Coulter. Quote, "I'm from the South and there's a lot of things that happen in the South that don't happen anywhere else," Coulter said in 2019. The Luke Gage star described an incident that occurred, quote, "night after night," which his mother explained as a spirit being attracted to his energy. "When I was a kid, I used to have this thing that was sitting on my chest when I would sleep, and it was keeping me from getting up and I couldn't open my eyes and I would struggle," he detailed. "I couldn't breathe very well. This instance, which most have described, has been called the sleep paralysis demon. For some, it's a faceless, shapeless presence trying to suffocate them. Others describe it as a creepy old hag with claws. And for others, the demons look like a deceased relative. But are these demons real? The paralysis is real. It's called sleep paralysis. The phenomenon of seeing something demon-like while experiencing sleep paralysis is also real. It's called a hypnagogic or hypnopompic hallucination. But whether it's an actual demon or not is unknown. However, I just want to add, I've experienced what Mike did a few years back and it was horrible." Number 9, Vanessa Hudgens. Quote, "I've accepted the fact that I see things and I hear things," the Tick Tick Boom actress claimed during an appearance on the Kelly Clarkson show in April 2022, noting that she had a lot of paranormal encounters over the years. "I kind of shut it down for a while. The unknown is scary. But I recently was like, no, this is a gift and something that I have the ability to do, so I'm going to lean into it." Hudgens even completed her, quote, "first real paranormal investigation" ahead of the interview, where she met a playful ghost while visiting a cemetery. "We found this one tombstone of a spirit that we were told is very playful," she said. "So I turned on the spirit box and I said, 'Hi Sam, I'm Vanessa and this is Gigi.' And then Gigi goes, 'Sam, can you tell us our names?' Then we just hear Vanessa, Gigi. I was like, cool, do you have anything else you want to tell me?" So I guess this one wasn't very scary, but to me, any interaction with the paranormal is scary. Number 8, Courtney Cox. The Friends alum recalled in March 2022 a scary experience with a ghost that led her to selling her house. Quote, "I didn't believe it at first, but I lived in this house in Laurel Canyon," which is in LA, obviously. "And it was Gypsy Rose Lee's house, and Carole King," Cox said during an interview on Jimmy Kimmel Live. "So Carole King came over to my house, and she said that there had been a divorce that was really ugly, and there was a ghost in the house. And I was like, yeah, whatever. But other people who would stay there with me, like friends of mine, said they felt an encounter with a woman who was sitting on the edge of the bed." The Shining Vale star noted that after doing a seance with King, she still didn't really believe in the supernatural. But that changed when a random UPS worker came to her home. It was a UPS guy, or something. "And I opened the door and he said, 'Do you know this house is haunted?' And I go, 'Yeah, why? Why do you think that?' And he goes, 'Because there's someone standing behind you.' And I was like, let's sell." The Scream actress listed the home soon thereafter, adding, "I couldn't sleep there alone ever again." Yep, okay, fair, that's terrifying. Number 7, Demi Lovato. Lovato shared that her childhood home in Texas housed a ghost in a 2013 article she wrote for BuzzFeed. "My house in Texas is so ridiculously haunted," she wrote. "Not by a bad spirit, but a little girl. I think her name is Emily. I've had a medium come over and ghost hunters and they both told me the same name, Emily. There were so many times that I saw her when I was growing up," Lovato continued. "I believe that everyone can tune into a part of their mind. I think I have a really strong connection to the afterlife. When I walk into a room, I can tell if something has happened there or not, or if a hotel is haunted." Number 6, Octavia Spencer. During a December 2021 appearance on the Ellen DeGeneres Show, the Oscar winner claimed that her house is haunted by the ghost of a late movie star. "I grew up watching westerns, and I bought this house, and it was owned by a guy who did westerns, so I must have been a fan of his. I think he is my protector. I love him because he kind of sorts out the bad people that shouldn't be there." The actor said that visitors sometimes don't want to come back after staying with her, but she sees it as a test. "That's how I know that they don't belong there, because if you're a person that belongs there, everybody is like, oh, your place is so welcoming, it's so great," she explained. Spencer joked that the spectacle presence gets upset when she's away from the home. "When I leave for a long time, he's a little shady. The door closes. The lights go off when I turn them on," she continued. "I love my ghost, I just don't want you bringing your ghost to my house. I don't want anybody's ghost thinking they can be friends with my ghost, because my ghost can haunt me but doesn't haunt me. We have boundaries." So then it sounds like a great system, I guess. As she prepared to take over Vanessa Kirby's portrayal of Princess Margaret for season 3 of The Crown, Carter sought approval straight from the late royal herself, with the help of a psychic medium. "My main thing when you play someone who is real, you kind of want their blessing because you have a responsibility," Carter said according to The Guardian. She said apparently she was glad it was me. She said, "You're better than the other actress that they were thinking of. They will not admit who it was. It was me and somebody else," the star continued. Quote, "That made me think maybe she's here because that is a good classic Margaret thing to say. She was really good at complimenting you and putting you down at the same time." Queen Elizabeth's outgoing younger sister also had a word of advice for the actress. Then she said, "Get the smoking right. I smoked in a very particular way. The cigarette holder was as much of a weapon for expression as it was for smoking. Number 4. Kesha. The singer claimed she was intimate with a ghost while speaking to Ryan Seacrest on his Kiss FM show in September 2012. I had a couple experiences with the supernatural, Kesha claimed. I don't know his name, he was a ghost. I'm very open to it. Later, she told the Rolling Stone that she had to undergo an exorcism. I know it sounds like the most ridiculous story, but I went to my healer, and she told me that because of my job, I send out energy. In October 2021, the singer announced that she's working on a new reality series titled Conjuring Kesha. According to her statement about the new show, Conjuring Kesha will follow her and her friends as they visit paranormal hotspots across the globe. Quote, "We will explore life's great mysteries and aim to catch something never before seen on camera," she continued. "My hope is to show that the supernatural isn't just a thing of myths and fables. We're embarking on a spiritual and cosmic exploration. Come with me to experience it all." Number 3. Lily Collins. The extremely wicked, shockingly evil, and vile star believes she received some support from the ghosts of Ted Bundy's victims while preparing to take on the role of the infamous serial executioner's ex-girlfriend Elizabeth. Collins told The Guardian in April 2019 that she was woken up by flashes of images, like the aftermath of a struggle, every night at 3:05 a.m. while filming. "I discovered that 3 a.m. is the time when the veil between the realms is the thinnest, and one can be visited. I didn't feel scared, I felt supported. I felt like people were saying, 'We're here listening, we're here to support you, thank you for telling the story.'" Number 2. Laura Linney. Initially skeptical, Laura became a believer after meeting one of the famed ghosts of Broadway's Belasco Theater. "It's absolutely haunted," she told James Corden on The Late Late Show for her former workplace. "I was not a believer. I'd been told about the ghosts at the Belasco. There was a mysterious passing of a chorus girl at the theater. Legend is that in the final dress rehearsals, that's when the ghost came out. I'd forgotten this, and I was doing a play with Jane Alexander, and I turned to Jane Alexander and I looked up to the balcony. There are 2 balconies there, and the upper balcony you can only get in from the outside, and those doors were locked. And I looked up and there was a woman standing in front row, looking over with a blue dress and blonde hair. I just thought, well, hello. I looked back at Jane and I looked back up and she was gone." Laura was further convinced it had been a paranormal experience when she confronted the theater's house manager. "I went to the house manager and I said, 'Joe, I think I saw a ghost.' And he went, 'Male or female?' I said, 'Female.' And he went, 'Blue dress, blonde hair?' Coincidence? Maybe not." Now coming in at number 1, Matthew McConaughey. While doing press for his 2009 movie Ghosts of Girlfriends Past, McConaughey shared that his Hollywood home was haunted by a spirit named Madame Blue. "I was not even under the influence and she was there," he recalled. "She wasn't that happy. It didn't seem like she was going to be much fun to hang around or have in my house. So I went ahead and stood my ground. I opened the door and said, 'You can move around all you want, but I'm not going anywhere.' For weeks, everyone that came into the house said the same thing. 'There's someone down the hall, there's someone down the hall.'" McConaughey went on to say that eventually he stopped getting visits from Madame Blue, and his guests fell in love with her former favorite room.
Top 10 celebrities who own haunted mansions. I'm your host, Cash Mooney. Before we jump into it, I want to make sure you guys subscribe, hit that bell icon to never miss a video. Number 10. Jennifer Aniston. While on a late night show, Jennifer Aniston talked about the haunting she dealt with in her past LA home. She stated that paranormal things would constantly happen, and her roommate had a third roommate who wanted them gone. She went on to say that the radio would turn on full volume, the coffee maker would randomly start, the dishwasher would just turn on. In fairness to the ghosts, these definitely seemed like kind gestures, but Jennifer Aniston wasn't having it. She hired a ghost expert who came to the apartment and had a little sit down with the ghost in question. The ghost whisperer came to the conclusion that the spirit hated Jennifer Aniston's roommate. I don't want to get involved with afterlife drama, but I am a bit curious on the reasoning. At the end of the day, I bet Jennifer Aniston and the ghost were friends. This list wouldn't be complete without the ghost serenader herself. Number 9. Demi Lovato. In a BuzzFeed article written in 2013, Demi Lovato claimed her then house in Texas was haunted. She noted it was never an evil spirit, but a little girl named Emily. Now here's the creepy part. Demi's mom has reported that Demi used to talk to herself and claimed she was talking to her friend Emily. I don't know about you, but I've watched enough horror movies to know those ghosts are the last ones I'd mess with. Demi Lovato claims she has a deep connection with the afterlife and is able to sense a presence wherever she goes, which could explain her singing to ghosts in recent videos. Emily just wanted a personal concert from an old-time friend. Demi, leave the afterlife alone. It never ends well. Number 8. Adele. 15 Grammys and millions of dollars. The award-winning singer found out early on in her success, money doesn't stop a good old haunting. Even if it's an $11 million mansion in England with a helicopter pad, 85 acres, and a total of 20,000 square feet. Adele moved into this house and it was said to be instantly creeped out. After a while, she eventually hired a bodyguard to keep watch, because that'll stop a ghost. Come on, Adele. Inevitably, Adele moved out after 2 solid years of haunting. At the end of the day, you're in an $11 million mansion in England with tons of property. I would have been more shocked if there wasn't a haunting. Always remember, money doesn't buy happiness, it buys ghosts. This may be one of the more odd hauntings. Number 7, Liam Payne. Liam Payne moved into a mansion in Calabasas, where upon moving in, he had a strange interaction with a complete stranger. Liam stated that the man approached him in the streets, saying that the new house Liam moved into is haunted, which to me would be more than enough for me to move halfway across the country, but Liam doesn't fold that easily, and he decided to stay. After some time, paranormal activities did start happening, and it freaked Liam out enough to stop sleeping upstairs and move into his home theater. He complained of the sink and lights turning on and off. Now the stranger in the street warning him and the strange paranormal activities at night aren't even close to the weirdest part of this haunting. The ghost in question is said to wear an army top, cargo pants, is apparently the original Jurassic Park videographer. This wasn't a haunting, this was Jurassically worse. Get it? Jurassically instead of duress. Okay, moving on. Number 6. The lovely Kardashians. In their 9,000 square foot Spanish-styled Calabasas mansion, the Jenner sisters claim to have experienced unexplainable happenings while living there. After dealing with these strange occurrences like hearing footsteps and showers randomly turning on, the sisters had an amazing idea of contacting the ghost with a Ouija board. Kendall, Kylie, future reference. Majority of ghost films include a Ouija board, so if you're looking to get rid of a ghost, I would highly recommend against using one. The sisters claim that while using the Ouija board, the ghost was able to answer personal questions about the Jenner family, which may have surprised them at the time, but hindsight, when you have a reality show based around your family's life, most of the answers to personal questions are just general knowledge, ghost or not. There may have been a party in the USA, but there was a haunting at Miley Cyrus's house. Alright, terrible joke aside, number 5 on this list is Miley Cyrus. Back to London again, because if there's gonna be a proper haunting, it has to be in Europe. Back in 2013, Miley Cyrus and her family lived in an apartment in London, which was haunted by a ghost of a former baker that worked across the street. There were 3 major experiences that forced Miley and her family out of this new apartment. While Miley's sister Noah was showering, the temperature reportedly flipped to scorching hot, which burned Noah. The second occurrence was coming home one day to a once locked door and all the windows and doors were open. And maybe the scariest of them all, Miley stated that she saw a young boy sitting on the sink in her bathroom. After the third ghostly experience, the family got out of there and stayed in a hotel until they could reside elsewhere. Number 4, Salma Hayek. Guess where this 17-bedroom mansion is located? Well, considering there is said to be 20 ghosts at this residence, the answer is in fact London, England. Salma and her family lived at a beautiful mansion along with her house staff and the ghost of a nun, a little boy, and an elderly woman, along with 17 more entities. In fact, it got so scary for Salma's staff, they refused to work until she hired a medium to get rid of these spirits. Salma agreed and the medium came in, getting rid of 19 of 20 ghosts. The final entity standing is none other than the scariest of them all, the nun. I would pay more to get all the ghosts back and get rid of the nun because no thanks, but the staff was willing to work alongside the nun as the medium said it has no ill intentions. Coming in at number 3 is the only man who could ever come to agreement with a ghost, Matthew McConaughey. The world-renowned actor was in the initial moving stages of his new Hollywood house back in his early days of stardom, when one night he spoke of hearing a dime drop from 10 feet onto a glass table. The noise woke him up. He was scouring his house trying to find the culprit, to which he found nothing. After some time, he said he kept encountering this ghost and ended up getting to know her very well. He learned that her name was Madame Blue. He saw her almost every night and she was always mad. He stated that she didn't seem like fun to hang out with, so he stood his ground, told her he wasn't leaving. After a while, Madame Blue and Matthew worked it out and got along very well. Like I said, I literally can only think of one person that could solve a conflict with a ghost. Number 2, Britney Spears. Unexplainable is an understatement when it comes to this haunting. Britney Spears, the queen of pop, lived in a beautiful home in Hollywood where she dealt with some not so nice spirits. Britney's makeup artist spoke on her experience. He stated that she would call him freaking out about ghosts trying to push her down the stairs and attacking her constantly. He went on to say that he believed there was a supernatural portal opened in that house. Britney finally decided she had had enough, and after selling the house, she left with this statement: "I know you're gonna think I'm crazy. I'm not crazy. I know what I saw. I know what I felt." Which makes me believe that she did experience an unpleasant presence. The scariest part of this haunting is Britney sold this house to Brittany Murphy and her husband, who a few years later passed away in the same house of the same illness. The whole scenario creeps me out. Number one, and number one for a reason, is Nicolas Cage. Because this man did not buy a house and find out it was haunted. He bought a house for the simple fact it was haunted. Nicolas Cage was planning to write a new horror novel, and in doing so, he decided to get inspiration from the most haunted house in America, the LaLaurie Mansion. He bought this house not to visit, but to spend all his time there while writing this book. You couldn't pay me enough money to spend a night there, so knowing that he paid to stay there shows me how much of a boss he is. Nicholas has stated his stay there couldn't last long because of the ghostly noises at night. Nicholas lost his house in 2009 due to foreclosure, but I got respect for the commitment he has when it comes to creating his art. The mansion is now a tourist attraction, and one of which I'm okay without seeing. Thank you for watching today's top 10. Make sure you leave a like on the video, subscribe for more top 10 content, hit that bell icon, and never miss a post. Enjoy your Halloween, and remember, money buys ghosts, and London is definitely haunted.
Not because I was angry with them, not because I hated them, but because I wanted to keep them with me.
I don't want to ever see my mother have to go through this again. Never, Jeffrey! Jeffrey! I hate you, mother!
That's what I deserve. I deserve death.
With the new Jeffrey Dahmer Netflix series starring Evan Peters, people have come out to say how inaccurate it has been, so I thought we should go through the top 10 lies the Netflix show told about Jeffrey Dahmer. Starting off this countdown at number 10, Jeffrey's neighbor. Annie Schwartz, who was working as a crime reporter for the Milwaukee Journal in 1991, was one of the first people to arrive at the Oxford apartments where Dahmer committed most of his crimes. She had received a call from a police source saying they had found human remains inside an apartment. Once there, she recalled watching the police figure out the magnitude of Dahmer's crimes after discovering Polaroids of his victims. When people are watching Ryan Murphy's Netflix series and saying, "Oh my god, this is terrible," I want to tell them it didn't necessarily turn out that way, she told the publication. One of the inaccuracies Schwartz couldn't get past with Dahmer is Glenda Cleveland's role as Dahmer's direct next-door neighbor. In the show, Glenda is seen making several attempts to alert the police to Dahmer's murders while living next door to him. In the first 5 minutes of the episode, you have Glenda Cleveland knocking on his door. None of that ever happened, she said. I had trouble with buy-in because I knew that was not accurate, but people are not watching it in that way. They're watching it for entertainment, she continued. Schwartz noted that in real life, Glenda Cleveland lived, quote, in a separate building at the Oxford apartments. She in fact never actually met Dahmer personally. Number 9, Dahmer fed sandwiches to his neighbor. Pamela Bass is the one who actually lived next door to Dahmer as opposed to Glenda in the series. She was relatively fond of him and didn't have many suspicions about what he was doing. She was however not included in the Netflix series. After Dahmer's arrest, Bass went on to record confirming that Dahmer was friendly and sharing. She even confirmed that he had fed her a sandwich every so often. Once the brutal nature of Dahmer's crimes were confirmed, Bass expressed her fear that they may have contained human flesh. "I have probably eaten someone's body parts," she said in the Jeffrey Dahmer Files movie on Prime Video, which came out in 2013. Number 8, Dahmer did not wear glasses during his trial. Jeffrey Dahmer in fact did not wear the trademark aviator glasses he became recognized for during his trial. During an interview with Inside Edition, Dahmer said, quote, "I felt uncomfortable looking anyone in the face. I didn't want to see anyone's face clearly. It helped me dissociate myself from what was happening." Well, then maybe you shouldn't have committed those crimes, like... And as you can see in the trailer for the show, there's a short clip of him in court with his glasses on. Number 7, LGBTQ+ tag. So as most people know now, the show on Netflix was giving an LGBTQ+ tag along with ones like #crime, #truestory, and so on. People got very mad because as maybe it is LGBTQ+, it's not LGBTQ+ friendly. I mean, the show is about non-straight colored men being torn apart and eaten. If I need to stay in my lane, absolutely tell me, but anyone else think it's pretty gross of at Netflix to list Dahmer under #LGBTQ, especially when the true crime tag would have worked? Someone had tweeted when the series first premiered. For those of you who love LGBTQ+ shows and know what the show Heartstopper is, just to put it into perspective, the two shows were in the same category. And for anyone who doesn't watch the show Heartstopper, I'll give you the description Google gave me. Charlie Spring, played by Joe Locke, a gay schoolboy who falls in love with classmate Nick Nelson, played by Kit Connor, whom he sits next to in his new form. But yeah, anyway, my point is they shouldn't be under the category, and I think Netflix was kind of trying to stretch a lie just to get the Jeffrey Dahmer series more views. Like, what if a child clicked on it thinking it was a nice sweet show like Heartstopper and found something like the Dahmer series? Number 6, how Ronald Flowers survived. A survivor of Dahmer's crimes was Ronald Flowers, who met Jeffrey when his car broke down one night. Jeffrey offered to help and took him to his grandmother's home and spiked coffee that Dahmer offered to him. Jeffrey got interrupted when his grandma saw that something wasn't right with Ronald. Like in the series, he later woke up in the hospital because Jeffrey's grandma made sure he got on a bus the next morning. But what's not mentioned is that he's also covered in marks and believed he might have been attacked. Ronald later testified that he didn't know how he got there and couldn't remember anything that happened. However, the Netflix series provides a fake reason. Halfway at number 5, racism and homophobia. Schwartz, who I mentioned at number 10, also went on to add that she believes the depiction of the officers as racist and homophobic was incorrect in the series. Others, however, would disagree with her comments. However, I first want to state that I don't believe her statement. I think a reason why he got away with the crimes for as long as he did was mostly because the people were people of color, but that is something she said, so I thought I'll add it in anyway. She said, quote, "I've spent a lot of time with them, interviewing the people who were at the scene. Again, this is a dramatization, but at a time when it was not exactly easy for law enforcement to get trust and buy-in from the community. It's not very helpful representation." As in this series, civil rights activist Jesse Jackson came to Milwaukee and set out to determine whether discrimination or racism ever played a role in the Dahmer investigation, and the double standard that the local police held for black and white citizens. In real life, Associated Press reported that the real Jackson stated that police at the local, state, and national level should be scrutinized for racism. The AP News report also notes that the police recordings indicated the officers laughed and joked about needing to shower after leaving Konarak and Dahmer behind at the apartment. Number 4, police officers did not receive Officer of the Year. Officers John Balserzak and Joseph Gabaresh received an Officer of the Year commendation in episode 9 of the limited series. However, that never happened in real life. Both officers, who were in fact suspended after Dahmer's arrest, were reinstated in 1994, but they were never recognized as Officer of the Year. Balserzak eventually became the president of the Milwaukee Police Officers Union, but that's it. Number 3, Glenda Cleveland wasn't really with her daughter and niece. The story of the 2 police officers who were called to the scene when Jeffrey's 14-year-old victim managed to escape was true, although Glenda Cleveland, or Pamela Bass, was never physically present at the time, but in the show she was. In real life, it was only her daughter and niece who were talking to the officers. The pair called the police when they noticed he appeared drugged and was bleeding and in pain. The rest of the story, however, played out similarly to how it was shown, with the police officers believing Dahmer's story and sending the young boy back to the apartment with him. However, Glenda Cleveland did call the police to make sure the boy was okay. Number 2, Dahmer did not drink bags of blood. Episode 4 of the Netflix series followed Jeffrey Dahmer after he got a job as a phlebotomist at the Milwaukee Blood Plasma Center. They take samples of blood for testing. The blood samples may be needed to learn more about a particular patient, or they may be used in research. They also collect blood from donors for those in need of blood transfusions. Most blood is taken from veins, but they must also learn how to draw blood from capillaries. They use capillary sampling when a small amount of blood is needed. It comes from the finger, heel, or earlobe. They also sometimes handle other types of specimens, such as urine, sputum, stool, and hair. In a disturbing twist, he brought home a bag of blood to drink. According to Dahmer's reports to police officials, in real life, he tried to drink a vial of blood on the roof of the center, but he wound up spitting it out. Now coming in at number 1, Jeffrey's apartment. Another inaccuracy that Schwartz pointed out in the show was the way in which the smell emitting from Dahmer's apartment was described. I was a crime reporter for 5 years, so I know what it smells like when you walk into a building with a dead body or a decomposing body, Schwartz said, recounting the moment she stepped into Dahmer's real apartment building as a reporter back in 1991. That was not that. This was a very chemically smell. In the series, Dahmer, played by Evan Peters, explains countless times that the bad smell that people often complained about was due to bad meat, because his freezer had broken. It's implied that the unbearable smell was due to the decomposing bodies of the victims in his apartment, but as stated, it never smelled like that. It was just something added in the show for dramatization. And that was the top 10 lies the Netflix show told about Jeffrey Dahmer. Let us know what you thought about this video in the comments below, and I will see you next time.